Okay, so what's going on? I mean, in Washington D.C., what's going on right now in Trump land, the Republican Party, in the media? I mean, it seems like a real meltdown.
Well, this is exactly what I spent a year and a half predicting. Donald Trump is incompetent. He is invincibly ignorant, and he is emotionally incontinent. How do you like that? Incompetent, invincibly ignorant, and emotionally incontinent. He is not emotionally equipped to be president of the United States. He is not experientially equipped to be president of the United States. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what is allowed. He doesn't know what is reasonable. He doesn't know what is expected. And he is not just getting himself in trouble, but he could be putting intelligence assets at risk of their very lives, and even if not at risk of their very lives, at risk of shutting down so we no longer get the intelligence that saves lives elsewhere. It is an absolute nightmare what is going on. This man should not be president.
Well, he is. He is president. So, I mean, where do we go from here?
We start the sweepstakes for who Mike Pence is going to choose for vice president.
Okay, so that's assuming an impeachment. I mean,
impeachment or resignation or something. Look, this can't last. This can't last for 4 years. It might not even last the summer. This guy is incapable of restraining himself. He is incapable of acting like an ordinary adult, much less like a statesman. And I mean, what I don't understand is why the Justice Department and the House and Senate investigating committees haven't already issued a subpoena for, quote, any and all recording devices that may exist in the executive office of the president. Repeat, a subpoena for, quote, any and all recording devices that may exist in the executive office of the president. We need to put a subpoena on those so they cannot be legally destroyed. We need to find out if there are tapes, and if there are tapes, what is on them, and get to the bottom of these multiple issues that touch on obstruction of justice, that touch on political and executive malpractice, even if some of them might not break a specific law. We need to find out what happened.
I was stunned that we're talking about, say, subpoenas for Comey's memo, but not the tapes.
Well, I mean, why within 24 hours of Donald Trump tweeting out his what was basically a veiled threat about tapes in the Oval Office, there should have been subpoenas that went out for tapes that may exist. They should be, the Justice Department should have issued subpoenas already, because as soon as you issue a subpoena, then destruction of the tapes themselves becomes obstruction of justice. Until there is a subpoena issued.
Or notification.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
exactly.
And they have not done that. They have
no,
not done that.
And I don't understand it. I mean, I think it's too early to talk Watergate. I think Watergate was in a class by itself. I think some of what is going on here is Trump being completely ignorant of what is and isn't allowed and is and isn't appropriate, rather than having some sort of evil intent. But having said that, in that sense, talking Watergate is too early. I do have to say, because of the tapes, didn't they learn from Watergate? If there are tapes, and the tapes could be relevant to something that could be impeachable, you subpoena them before they can get destroyed.
Sure, absolutely. So The memo. What's your take on that? Or memos?
You'd have to. Yeah, well, you would have to see the contacts. You would have to see. It's not clear to me whether the people that are reporting that they personally have the memos, whether Comey shared the memos with them contemporaneously or only now. If he shared the memos with them contemporaneously,
right,
then that adds to their credibility. If there's only one memo after that one meeting, it looks odd. If Comey ordinarily, if Comey has a whole library of memos because he ordinarily does memos after important meetings to himself, then that adds to their credibility because obviously he's not ginning something up after the fact to cover his butt. But it's a normal and standard practice, and that makes them more believable. So we need to learn the context, and we need to see exactly what the details are. But most people have reported that Comey is in the habit, has long been in the habit of these memos to self. If that is the case, then this memo becomes much more believable.
What about the issue regarding his conversation with the Russian diplomat?
To me, that I don't think Trump was being unpatriotic or deliberately putting us at risk. I think he was being an idiot. I think he was being a 10-year-old braggart, saying, "Ha ha, let me brag about the great intelligence we have." And it gets back to what George Will wrote 2 weeks ago, that Donald Trump is so ignorant, he doesn't even know, not only does he not know what he doesn't know, but he doesn't know the difference between knowing and not knowing. And I think he innocently was so ignorant that he did not realize. He still doesn't understand because he won't listen to anybody and he won't take his briefings. He still doesn't understand what it means to put an intelligence source at risk. Not just what it means for that source, but what it means for the intelligence that source produces, which can then be shut off. And if you shut off that intelligence, then down the line that can cause not just one or two lives, it can cost 10, 20, hundreds of lives and put the American interests at risk. That's what could have happened by sharing Israeli information with the Russians when the Russians are in bed with the Iranians.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. It's stupid.
Now, one last question before you go, and that is, you're saying that he's still not taking the briefings?
Oh, everybody's reporting that he wants things put in bullet points. Now, Reagan did that too, but then Reagan would ask questions afterwards. He'd take the stuff home, he'd study it, he'd go back the next morning, and he'd have notes written in the margin asking somebody to follow up, to explain things further, et cetera, et cetera. Trump gets the bullet points and then supposedly doesn't even read that. And the reports are that when people try to advise him, he pushes them away because he thinks that anybody trying to advise him is an affront, as if, because somehow it hurts his ego to think that somebody knows more than he does. So he's not taking the briefings. That has been widely reported, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's given the fact that Obama took briefings, every morning. And
now, Obama was a problem. Obama didn't take all of his briefings either, but nobody doubts that when he did take them, he's a guy who does study things very deeply. But no, he was known for blowing off briefings a number of times, but not to the level Trump is. Not to the level Trump is.